Alright guys, for today's video I just wanted to talk a little bit about what I was doing in my last video. For those of you who haven't seen my last video, you should take a look. It was kind of a goofy little May 4th Star Wars themed casting video. So although it looks like I was just screwing around, having fun and stuff, I was actually doing something productive besides casting the projectiles. I was testing I guess you could call it a prototype coating for sprue plates. Now, there's a local guy over here in Utah that his business is called blackicecoatings.com, and what he does is he actually takes gun parts and I guess other parts and he will Teflon coat them. It's like a baked on Teflon coating, and while Al was getting some parts coated, Al Nelson from NOE, then he had the idea to try a sprue plate, to get a sprue plate Teflon coated, and so he went ahead and took it to him and got it all coated, and this is what I have right here. And after he got it coated, then of course he had to test it, and so he went and I think for about an hour he cast a pile of bullets, and to properly test it and to heat up the mold real good and to test the limits of it, he used the HTC 459 500 SP, which casts a 500 grain pointy projectile. And the reason he chose this one is because, one, he wanted to cast some projectiles with it for himself because he has a bolt action 458 SOCOM that he built. But the other reason is this mold in particular has a high lead to aluminum ratio. And what that means is it gets really hot really fast. And when you're casting these quite large projectiles, then the mold gets really hot, and we wanted to test it with something that would get it on the high end of heat. And so after he ended up using it and testing it, then he called me over and said, hey, why don't you take my mold and go ahead and test it and do a bunch of casting and see what you think of it. And now my worry was that I thought that this would maybe get too hot, or that the lead pouring directly onto the Teflon would cause it to melt or vaporize or something. But I was actually pretty surprised at the results. So I didn't really baby the mold. I got it really hot, and hot enough I had to wait for the sprues to cool, I don't know, like 20 seconds or so. That's pretty hot. And well, I did that a few times, and then I really wanted to get my production going, or get more projectiles produced in the time I had. And so I ended up casting with this mold for about, I think it was 3 hours. And that's the footage that you guys saw in my Star Wars themed May 4th video. And so what I was really doing is I was testing this coating, and so far it's held up pretty dang good. I actually cracked the sprue. I opened it up intentionally early a couple times to see what it would do, and normally you get that lead smear, that's what you call it. You get a lead smear on there, and what I did is after it solidified, then I just took my glove and rubbed it on the mold or the sprue cutter, and it just kind of scraped off. And it might not look like it, but the sprue remained remarkably clean. And anyways, I was really impressed with how well it worked. I thought I would be able to just pour a bunch of lead on it and that it'd melt and stuff, but even on the underside, it seems like the Teflon still held up. Teflon, I think, what was he saying? Lee, the guy at Black Ice Coatings, was saying, you know, operating temperature should be like 600 degrees or less. And granted, melted lead is hotter than 600 degrees, but the mold temperature should be quite a bit less than 600 degrees. Mold operating temperature should be roughly around 400 degrees or 375 or somewhere around there. But anyways, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts. What do you think about Al from NOE adding this as an additional option to have a Teflon coated sprue plate? I kind of think it's a cool idea. Of course, I want to test it a little bit longer, you know, make sure that we don't discover that there's something majorly wrong with it. But go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. If you think it's a good idea, bad idea, if you think that there's going to be some type of failure that we haven't seen yet, that would be helpful information, just, you know, stuff to look out for. But other than that, you know, if this actually works, then that would be kind of a cool option. You know, he could probably sell them with the Teflon coating or without. And one thing I noticed too is when you cut the sprues, they really jump out off this the sprue cutter or the sprue plate. The Teflon makes it so they really pop off good. The idea that I was talking to Al about too is that if this actually works good, then I wonder if there's a way to Teflon coat the pins. Now that gets a little bit tricky because, you know, if you Teflon coat the pins, then that increases the thickness of them, and so I don't know if it does it enough so that when you close it, it'll have gaps or not. So I told Al that we should take a few pins and get them coated and just see how it goes and whatnot. But I could think of some specific molds where they have a lot of bearing surface on them, and where the bullet really grabs a hold of the pins, the hollow point pins. And if we were able to have Teflon to help release the projectiles, that would be freaking amazing if it worked. So we're gonna try that too. But yeah, like I said, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know what you think about Teflon coated sprue plate and Teflon coated hollow point pins. So yeah, I'm gonna try and cast some more 458 SOCOM or 4570 bullets this weekend using this. I'll probably just pull this off and then throw it on my 354 mold and do some hollow points. And anyways, let me know what you think, and yeah, go out, do some casting, do some loading, do some shooting, and stay safe.